Life is getting more expensive because the size of government is getting out of control. Take the latest interest rate hike. Why are your mortgage payments going up? Well, the Trudeau government raised taxes, printed money like crazy, and has been running never-ending deficits. The result? 40-year high inflation. Sure, there are many different factors that influence prices, international stuff obviously going on as well, but deficits, money printing, and tax hikes drive higher inflation. And now interest rates are going up to try to cool inflation. But let's break this down just a little bit more. Our Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, has acknowledged that more borrowing means higher inflation. Okay, good step. But by the time she made that acknowledgement last fall, the government had already lost control of the fiscal reins. In 2018, before a pandemic, before a cross-Canada recession had happened, well, the Trudeau government was already spending all-time highs. And yes, even after accounting for inflation and population growth. Let me just say that one more time. In 2018, Trudeau spent more money than the feds did during any single year during World War II, when we were fighting the Nazis. Then the pandemic hit. In response, the feds announced about $500 billion in new spending. About $200 billion of that had nothing to do with the pandemic. Trudeau promised to run modest, teensy-weensy, itty-bitty little deficits and balance the budget by 2019. He missed that mark by $20 billion. Freeland then said she would balance the budget by 2027. Not gonna happen. Now, they're not even paying lip service to balanced budgets. The Parliamentary Budget Officer, the government's independent budget watchdog, now pegs the next balanced budget sometime around the year 2041. Folks, almost 2 more decades from now. Can you afford that? No, I don't think so. But the out-of-control deficit spending is only half of the inflationary story. The other half is how that deficit spending has been financed by the printing press. Brr. It's pretty simple. The more dollars the central bank prints, the less that your dollars can buy. That's the inflation tax. And it's especially pernicious when those freshly printed dollars are dropped into an economy that has largely been shut down by government fiat. That creates a situation where you have too many dollars chasing too few goods. Inevitably, prices go up. The Bank of Canada printed about $370 billion during the 2-year period between March 2020 and 2022. That 300% growth in the Bank of Canada's assets is significantly more than what we saw happen during the recession of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 08-09 financial crisis. Now let's take a trip down memory lane to budget 2021. Just 2 days after Freeland announced her plans to run a $3 billion per week deficit, the Bank of Canada announced that it would purchase $3 billion of government debt. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. And the inflationary cherry on top? Tax hikes. The entire purpose of the Liberal government's carbon tax is to increase prices. That's the goal. Trudeau must be patting himself on the back every time he goes past those gas stations with those huge pump prices. To make matters worse, soon, very soon, there will be a second carbon tax. By 2030, Trudeau's 2 carbon tax will increase the price of gasoline by about 55 cents per liter. Do you see what's happening here, folks? The government increases the cost of living through deficits, money printing, and tax hikes. You pay for all of that. Then the central bank increases interest rates. Oh wait, you pay for that too. You're the one who suffers. You, your neighbors, your family, your friends. You know who doesn't suffer? The government. Members of Parliament gobble pay raise after pay raise after pay raise after pay raise. Since the beginning of the pandemic alone, members of Parliament have taken 4 pay raises. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 pay raises. A backbench member of Parliament is collecting dust in the House of Parliament, in the House of Commons, and is also collecting about $194,000 base salary. That's $15,000 more than the salary of a backbench member of Parliament pre-pandemic. Trudeau collects about $389,000 annual salary. That's about $31,000 more than pre-pandemic. Tiff Macklem, he's the head of the Bank of Canada, and he's doing just fine. His salary is about $500,000 a year. Macklem also rubber-stamped $45 million in bonuses and raises during the pandemic and as inflation took off. Now, the central bank has one job. One, to keep inflation low and around 2%. If you've been to a grocery store or a gas station lately, you know that the central bank failed to do that one and only job. Doesn't matter. They still got bonuses and pay raises. Did you? One more example, folks. Let's take the Governor General. When she's not expensing fancy clothes or racking up almost $100,000 on airplane food, she's collecting about a $350,000 salary. That's about $50,000 more than what the Governor General's salary was pre-pandemic. So, do you see what's happening here? Do you see what's going on? You pay more, they take more. Do you see it yet?